What's up guys, it's your favorite Kiwi coach, and give me 6 months of your time and I'll give you the best golf swing of your life. So welcome back to your channel. In this particular video, we're going to be doing another client before and after video, but this is going to be a very special one and a unique one because this is going to be a before and after of someone that you might have heard before, Natsuki Hatano. I'm going to leave her YouTube channel somewhere up here. So without further ado, let's go do this thing. But before we get into the video, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, and that is Kiwi Golf Japan. If you're too busy or you live too far away to come take a lesson from us, Kiwi Golf Japan is the membership site for you. With over 150 plus videos of golf instruction, we have everything on the site that you could possibly want. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check out the link down below. And other than that, let's get into the video. So like I said in the intro, this particular before and after is very unique and special because a lot of you guys have probably heard of Natsuki Hatano. She has her own YouTube channel, and if you haven't heard about it, there'll be a link down below, but make sure to watch this video all the way till the end before you go check out her channel. But essentially, she came to us because she was struggling with her shot dispersion. Distance was pretty good, but really she was trying to get a tighter dispersion because when you play pro level golf, you don't want to be relying on your short game as heavily as she had to because her dispersion was kind of so inconsistent. So the few things that we were trying to focus on were really backswing in this lesson, the overall look of the backswing, and then also a few minor details on the downswing as well. So we're going to be talking about all of that, but let's go take a look at her before and after swing first, and then from there we can start off with the takeaway. So this is going to be your before swing. All right, and this is going to be her after swing. Okay. So the first thing that I want to talk about is going to be the takeaway, so let's go ahead and get to that. So when it comes to the takeaway, there was really two motions that we're trying to fix with Natsuki's takeaway. The first one was going to be the club head position at position 2. So as you can see, the club head is pretty much halfway between the golf ball and the toe line, and that's really far away from my particular preference. Now the main reason why we don't want to see the club head too far outside of the hands at this point is because it's eventually now going to have to work pretty severely behind the hands, and then you have to stop that movement of it moving too far behind the hands so you don't get underneath the plane, and then you have to move it out towards the golf ball. So in my opinion, it adds another variable to the golf swing, and it's a large range of motion variable, which means you have to move the club head a large range of motion to get into the correct spot. So I think it's really difficult, and that's the reason why we would want to change that. The next thing that we're trying to fix was going to be the hand position at position 2. So overall, throughout most of her backswing, she was moving her hands really inside, and then towards the top of the swing, it would move back towards the head. So it had kind of that little looping action to it. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this type of backswing because I think it causes a lot of issues on the downswing. Typically, the hand path starts to move too far out towards the golf ball. You also start to see people spin out or early rotate when they tend to do this, and I'm just not a big fan of moving the hands in that way. I'd much rather prefer to see people moving the hand path a little bit more in a diagonal fashion as opposed to looping in and then back towards the head. So as you can see in the after swing, those would be two of the motions that we were attempting to fix. So if we go ahead and take a look at the club head position, it's now a lot closer to the toe line, which means the club head is now in line with the hands a lot more than it was before. So we've gotten rid of one of the variables, and she doesn't have to move the club head behind the hands as severe as she had to do before. Now if we go ahead and take a look at the hand position, I still think we could do a little bit better, but I still think it is better than the before swing. So if we go take a look at the before swing, we could see that the hands were slightly behind the toes. Now it's slightly outside of the toes. I still think we could be maybe 1 to 2 inches a little bit more outside with the hands. However, she's done a great job in getting that into the correct spot. Now in terms of overall feelings that we had to feel to get this to happen, we had an alignment stick actually down here for most of the practice. So she was trying to feel like her lead arm was moving out at a 45-degree angle, and then at the same time she was trying to pronate her wrist or get the club head behind the hands almost was the feel. And whenever she was able to do that, she actually was able to get into a little bit more of a neutral position. Now obviously we don't want the arms to go out at a 45-degree angle and the club head behind the hands, but that's the severe feeling that she had to feel just to get back to neutral. Eventually that feeling is not going to be the correct feeling for her and she'll be able to overdo it, but for the short term it is the correct feeling, and then once she starts overdoing it, we're going to tell her to stop that and make sure she gets a little bit more of a neutral feeling. All right, one of the next positions we wanted to change was going to be P2.5. So that's going to be this position right here. So she just had pretty much a little bit too much of a vertical club shaft throughout most of the backswing. We want to see the club shaft a little bit more on the forearm. So that was definitely something we wanted to change here. As well, we were trying to still keep the hand positioning at this spot a little bit more in front of the body than she was in this before swing. So if we go take the after swing, we can see that the club shaft now is a lot closer to being on the forearm Ideally, we'd like to see it maybe just a little bit flatter here, but she's still doing a really good job at this particular point. If we draw a line down for the hands, we can see that it's pretty much in line with the toe line versus the before, she's still inside the toe line. So she's still doing a lot better job at getting the hands into the proper spot. All right, moving from P2.5 to really P3 and just past P3, I think was really the biggest issue with her backswing. And what we're going to find is the hands now start to move even more behind her at this point, and then the club shaft gets even increasingly more vertical to position 3. And this was a big thing that we wanted to fix. So let me go highlight that. So let's just go ahead and draw some lines on the club shaft and see how it gets a little bit more vertical as she starts to approach P3. So as you can see here, these two lines slightly intersect, which means she's getting more and more vertical. Now she was already pretty vertical at position 2.5, so getting more vertical to P3 is going to get that club shaft position well inside the ball line, which is not going to be my particular preference. I like to see the club shaft just barely inside the ball line or at the ball line is really what I prefer to see. I don't like to see it too vertical here because now you're going to have to figure out some way to flatten that either in transition or somewhere on the downswing, and it's difficult to actually do that. Now if we go ahead and take a look at the after swing, the club shaft is flatter at P2.5, but as she gets to position 3, she's still starting to steepen this a little bit too much for my liking. So as you can see, the lines right here are slightly intersecting. So I want her to continue to work on getting this better and better. So right around P2.5 to P3, actually, if anything, slightly flattening the club shaft would be a lot better approach than actually steepening the club shaft, in my personal opinion. All right, and then as we look at the before swing, as she continues to go up to the top of the swing, this is going to be really where her awkward feeling of the top of the swing position was. One of the things she complained about was she felt like she had a really inconsistent top of swing position, and the main reason why I felt like she was doing that was because she was so vertical at P3, she would keep that club shaft being vertical until really the last second and then really flatten it really quickly, and that's why I feel like she felt so inconsistent at the top. Whenever you, in that short period of time, have a large range of motion that quickly, it's difficult to get into the same spot every time. So hence the swing is going to feel really inconsistent. And that's exactly what she was doing here. So as you see from about this position to about this position right before the hands start to drop, the club shaft has flattened maybe about 20 degrees or something like that. So that's a lot, or that's a large range of motion for that short a period of time, and it's going to be difficult again to get to the correct spot every single time. This is why she felt so unstable at the top of the swing. Now if we go take a look at her after swing, this is still something we need to get better. So I still think we could do a lot better than what we're doing here. So as she gets up to the top, I still think she's a little bit too vertical here, and then as the club shaft starts to flatten, I still think that she is moving that too large of a range of motion. So that will be something in future lessons we're going to continue to try to get better and better and better. I really want to see the club shaft just basically consistently flattening after position 2. That way when we get near the top of the swing, we don't have to flatten anymore and it's already into the correct spot. That's going to be a big goal of ours. Now, as we switch into the downswing, there's really two things I want to talk about with the downswing. All right, that's it for you guys on YouTube. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Stay with me for a couple seconds and let me give you some takeaway points from this particular video. If you're one of those people that's seeing your backswing that your hands are getting way inside and then looping up towards the head, and then you get really crossed at the top and then you have to really flatten in transition, if you're one of those people and you're struggling with your dispersion, these are the steps I want you to take. First and foremost, start with position 2. I want you to get those hands outside more, get them closer to the toe line. Once you do that, as you start to approach the top of the swing, that's when I want the hands to start to arc back away from the golf ball. But for most of the backswing, you should feel like the hands are arcing towards the golf ball and then towards the end away from the golf ball. Now, if you actually were to do that, that would be way too far outside, way too far in, but I guarantee in the short term as a feeling, that's going to be the feeling that you need to do, especially if you're way inside and up. From there, the last thing that I want you guys to focus on is what is the club shaft doing relative to the hand movement. I don't want to see you guys getting the club shaft really, really vertical all the way up towards the top and then trying to flatten it. It's going to add on all sorts of variables that is difficult to control. So what I want you guys to do is focus on that P2, getting the club head closer to the hands, P2.5, get on that forearm, P3, get into the 35, 40 degree we talk about, and then from there, you pretty much just have to take it up to the top of the swing. So if you're struggling with this and you need more help, well, give me 6 months of your time, I'll give you the best golf swing of your life. That stands true. Check out the link to our lesson, check out our 6-month program where you can see each lesson and what we're going to be teaching you. Other than that, make sure to sign up for a membership because it supports this YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video.